You wanted a deep dive into fur animal breeders?
Yeah.
And
Honestly, when I saw this request, I was really curious myself.
it's not like a common one, you
Right.
know?
Right.
It seems like a lot more goes into it than people realize.
Yeah, it's a field that often gets kind of simplified, I think, in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really dig in,
Yeah.
you realize there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
So for anyone who might not know, what does a fur animal breeder do?
So, at its core, a fur animal breeder is responsible for the entire life cycle of animals raised for their fur.
Okay.
And that can
That makes
be
sense.
everything from selecting which animals to breed based on, genetics, desired traits, all the way to, ensuring their health and well-being.
So it's not just about being good with animals, it's about understanding genetics and trends.
Yeah, you've got to have a business mind too.
Yeah.
That's where it gets really interesting.
And speaking of, I was blown away by something I found on RoleCatcher. They're the ones who provided the data for this deep dive.
Okay.
They said that fur animal breeders spend 72% of their time on customer service.
That's true.
That's more than even animal care.
Yeah, and it's something most people don't realize.
Yeah.
These breeders need to be expert communicators, able to build relationships with buyers, address concerns, navigate all the different...
Right, because it is a sensitive industry.
Absolutely.
So let's say you're just starting out. What does a day in the life look like?
Well, you're going to be working with experienced breeders.
Okay.
It involves a lot of hands-on care, cleaning, maintaining enclosures.
The not so glamorous stuff.
Yeah, food prep, monitoring feeding schedules, and really looking for signs of illness or distress in the animals.
Sounds like you need a lot of patience for this kind of work.
You need to be adaptable, resourceful, and above all, passionate about animal care.
And on top of that, you have to stay up to date on all the latest advancements
Oh, absolutely.
in things like breeding techniques and technology.
For sure. Genetic testing is huge right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I read that's becoming super important.
It's a game changer, allowing breeders to analyze DNA, identify potential health risks,
Wow.
make really informed decisions about breeding.
It's amazing how much science and technology is involved in this field.
Yeah, you would think it was all very traditional, but it's a real mix of old and new.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what makes it so fascinating.
So we've touched on animal care, genetics, a little bit of business.
Yeah.
Let's dive a little deeper into the career path itself.
Yeah, it's not just a straight line to the top, It's more like climbing a ladder, where each step up means more expertise, more responsibility.
So where does someone usually start on this ladder?
Well, usually after you've got some experience under your belt, you might become a junior breeder.
Okay.
And that means more responsibility, things like record keeping, helping pair animals for breeding, even supervising newer staff.
They're really starting to manage things.
Yeah, and from there, you can move up to senior breeder. And that's where it gets really interesting,
Why is that?
because you often get to specialize.
Oh, you mean like focus on a certain type of animal?
Exactly. Like you might be known for the best fox furs or specific mink colors that everyone wants.
So you really get to become an expert.
Right. Or you could even go more into the genetic side, working on breeding programs.
Wow, that sounds really involved.
Yeah, you're making decisions that could impact the whole operation, managing budgets, even mentoring the newer breeders.
So it's like any career path, then you start at the bottom and work your way up, gaining more responsibility as you go.
Exactly.
But I imagine the learning never really stops in this field.
You're right about that.
There are always new discoveries being made,
Absolutely. Continuous learning is key.
which is why it's so surprising to see so many different degrees that can prepare you for this job.
Yeah, it's not just animal science anymore.
Like, I saw psychology listed. What does that have to do with breeding for animals?
Well, it's all about understanding behavior.
Yeah.
If you can pick up on their cues, if they're stressed, sick, or even if the breeding pairs aren't a good match.
You can make better decisions about their care.
Right. And on that note,
Yeah.
there's another part of this job that needs a good understanding of not just animal behavior,
Okay.
but also human nature.
And that is,
The sales and marketing aspect we talked about before.
right, with that 72% of their time spent on customer service.
Yeah, I think that really surprised a lot of people.
Me included. Tell me more about that. What makes it so important? It's true when we think about customer service.
Yeah.
Fur breeding isn't usually the first thing that comes to mind.
Right.
So what makes those skills so important?
Well, a big part of it is building trust,
Okay.
especially with dyers, because the
Mhm.
fur industry,
Wow.
it's not just about buying and selling,
Right.
These relationships between breeders and buyers
Mhm.
sometimes go back generations.
So you're really maintaining these long-term relationships.
Exactly. And that takes a lot of work.
Makes sense.
You need to understand their needs, make sure they're happy with the furs, educate them about the different types.
Oh, that's a good point because most people probably don't know the difference between, like,
Right, you've got to be able to explain it
a
all.
fox and a mink.
The breeding process, how we ensure the animals are well cared for. Transparency is key.
Being open about everything.
Yeah, buyers can spot a breeder who's not being upfront a mile away.
So those conversations, being able to address their concerns, that's what really sets a good breeder apart.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, though, how much emphasis there is on the people side of this business.
Right, it's not just about the animals.
Speaking of which, I noticed RoleCatcher pointed out a very telling interview question.
Oh, yeah.
How do you ensure the ethical treatment of fur animals under your care?
Number 5 on their list.
Seems like a simple question.
It is, but, it's really getting at something deeper.
Right. Like you can't just, it's not just about knowing the rules. It's about showing them you care.
Exactly, because anyone can say they follow the regulations.
Right. They want to see that you're going above and beyond, that you're passionate about the animal's well-being.
That it's more than just a job.
Yeah. You really have to be committed to ethical treatment. That's what makes all the difference.
It's really fascinating how this career combines so many different things. The science, the business sense,
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
the compassion. It's a lot to balance. You've got to find that sweet spot between passion and responsibility.
Yeah.
You need that love for the animals, the respect for how they deserve to be treated.
And of course, you're always learning and adapting.
Absolutely. This industry never sits still.
Well, this has been incredibly eye-opening.
Good.
It's clear that fur animal breeders have a really important role to play, and it takes a special kind of person to do it.
Yeah, it does.
So to everyone listening, if you're looking for a career that's challenging and rewarding, this might be the one for you.
That's a great way to put it.
That's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.